And we are live. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this next edition of the Emerald Publishing Journals, where we feature editors or co-editors in chief, particularly women in the Australasia region. Today, joining me is our distinguished professor, Marianna Sigala, who is the co-editor of the Journal of Service Theory and Practice. Good morning, Marianna. Good afternoon on your end.
Hello, Aaron. Thank you for having me here. Pleasure to share my experiences.
Thank you. Marianna, can you just share perhaps a little bit about your background and how perhaps you came to become the editor or co-editor in chief of this journal?
Okay, well, I guess you are more interested about my academic background or progress career. My PhD was about productivity in the hotel sector, and that's how I specialized or I got expertise in the field of service operations and technologies. I have always published in this field and attended different conferences organized by the related disciplinary associations and networks. One of that, it was the ServSig network association, which is actually managed or operating under the American Marketing Association umbrella. And I would say it was through this network of people that they have met me, they recognized and they appreciated the work that I have been doing in that field. I have been contributing to the journal of the association, the associated journal to this network, the Journal of Service Theory and Practice. So when the opportunity came, whereby there was a call for an editor for the journal, I just expressed my interest, and I was lucky enough, let's say, to be selected and work on that project.
Thank you. So how long has it been since you've been in this role of the co-editor-in-chief?
Good question. Now you're challenging my memory. If I recall well, it should have been back in 2008 or 9.
Okay.
At that time, the journal was called Managing Service Quality, because it was founded several decades ago when service quality as a topic was a major issue. It was a really topical, not very well researched topic, new and trendy in the industry. And during that times, the journal was growing very fast and prospering. But gradually, as you can imagine, since, we have explored everything that somebody could more or less study on the topic and the subject area, the research interest and the possibilities to conduct research in this really very specific, narrow, defined field was getting much more challenging. And the majority of the papers we were getting and we were publishing in the journal at the first years when I started that role, they were in general about services management rather than only service quality. So I sat down with my co-editor at that time, and we were assessing, options and what we can do to give a new life to the journal, and try to find a way to revamp it and try to reposition it in the field. And that's how we came up with the idea, in consultation with the editorial board we had at that time, to repositioning into a more general field, the field of services management. And that's how the journal changed the name as well.
Thank you for the brief insight and the background of how it's evolved. And since then, given the name change, and also obviously the last few years going through pandemics and natural disasters and wars, do you note any trends that are emerging from the journal? For example, topical areas or also geographical distribution of scholars, for example?
Yeah, if I could probably identify some trends. I mean, during the COVID period, of course, we had this influx of COVID-related papers, as all the journals had. The majority of them, they were about how to handle a crisis in services. but also about digitization. The COVID gave a further boom and boost into the digitization of services and the importance of that. The digitization trend was always there in services. COVID was just an excuse to give a further, I would say, boost. New technologies now like AI, machine learning, intelligent automation continue this trend and importance to continue research on that area, because the field is unlimited and we are still not aware, or we don't know what the implications of these new technologies are or will be in the future. So if I would say an area that there are many still opportunities is definitely technologies and services. The other field that I believe it is really worthwhile spending research effort and time, it has to do with sustainability in the wider sense, not only environmental sustainability, which is really very critical in services, but sustainability from a psychological point of view, a financial point of view. If we consider now, inflation and the incapability of people to meet daily, demands of life. And again, not only from the consumer point of view of services, but also the employees working in the service sector. What the pressures of work, stress, workloads, new ways of working, remote working or virtualization of services, that means for their own resilience, well-being, quality of life, because, sustainability, as I said, it's not just the environmental dimension,
Yeah, thank you for that. And those are valuable tips and topics that scholars current and in the future can actually explore the certain contemporary areas, like you mentioned, around current economic crisis and service domains that would be of value both across continents as well. So thank you for your insights. I just wanted to focus also, being a co-editor-in-chief, it's a bit of work to take on board managing a journal like this and other commitments. How do you manage that on your end in terms of work and other personal commitments as well?
Good question. Well, I think two things that people will need to consider when they raise their hand to take leadership roles is, first of all, if possible, to have a good partner. And I was lucky enough to have a good co-editor, in this case with the journal, so we can not only split work and, substitute each other when we are busy or when we are traveling, but also to have a kind of a mentor or a backup, to ask advice, when problems or issues emerge, it's always good to have a second opinion on how to handle issues. The other thing is you have to have in some way good self-discipline or organization, because it is a heavy workload. There are issues that emerge from, integrity, research integrity issues, to administration issues, to anything that you can imagine, that they will emerge at times that you need to respond immediately, irrespective if you have to teach or if you're traveling or if you have family commitments. So you really need to make yourself available. You can't say to things, please wait.
Yeah.
Some self-discipline in terms of organizing your time and task is important, but also to be aware that sometimes sacrifices will need to be done,
Yeah, and certainly because everyone has a certain number of hours a day that's quite fixed, to spread that across different areas, including things like a journal. But was there any maybe particular advice, particularly for women, to take up this kind of research leadership roles that you feel need to be factored into consideration before they even put the hand up, for example?
I believe getting support from your own institution is good, because I know many times, even in my situation or others, the workload and the time you devoted on this task is not, I wouldn't say recognized. All the universities appreciate you doing it.
Yeah.
but they do not always recognize the time or give you relief for that, or they are thankful for you doing it, but not giving you appropriate time or recognition, if you see what I mean. So if you also have to address that issue, it will be an extra workload for you. And I think, yeah, if somebody can communicate or get the support from the school, you know, or the line manager in terms of, you know, at least the mental recognition, how can I say that, you know, you're doing that work, it's appreciated, and, you know, you might not get the pragmatic work relief, at least you're recognized for what you're doing. I think emotionally or psychologically, that's very important.
Thank you for that. Looking at your journey now that you've taken on board this role for like over maybe even a decade or more with Emerald and the journal, what has your experience been like? Because there are different publishers out there. Has Emerald been supportive, and where do you see the role of Emerald supporting you in the journal further in the future?
Well, during my period of duty, the journal has gone, I would say, through interesting milestones. I mean, the interesting one, it was, as you can imagine, the renaming of the journal. Yeah. Because renaming of the journal meant not only repositioning the journal to the community, but by renaming it, we lost all the impact factors and recognition and rankings in all lists, because all the databases recognized this as a new journal. We couldn't transfer anything, you know, as credit. So we had to rebuild the journal basically from zero. Yeah. And I have to admit, during that time, the support we had from Emerald, it was really very constructive and very helpful. Yeah. To help us do the administration work, the paperwork, but also giving us advice how to deal with all these, you know, issues in terms of replacing the journal into databases and trying to grow it in terms of impact factors and everything. So that was really much appreciated and instrumental. After that, as you can imagine, the journal had to grow, isn't it? But at the same time, competition is increasing, and it's still increasing. I mean, the journal, by becoming a little bit more general from a very narrow topic, it had to face a lot of competition. Yeah, if you can see what I mean. We have to compete with many more journals, and then again, the support from the publisher, it has been quite supportive in terms of giving us insights, promoting the journal, giving us advice where to go, or supporting special issues, you know, and things that they are important, because, as I said, the landscape is too aggressive.
Yeah, it's a very competitive landscape now, given the increased pressures by scholars to also submit papers around the world.
Well, the problem is that, you know, you don't have an issue in terms of number of submissions, but you have a problem of getting good quality submissions. So if you want to really grow the journal and increase the rankings, the issue is really competitive. Yeah, because there is only a limited number of quality research that goes around, and the number of journals is growing more than that.
The demand and supply now of academic publishing. So on that area of like the future directions with the journal, for example, do you see perhaps things like AI? It's always been talked about in the last couple of months. Is there something that you hope AI can do for the journal, perhaps in the future?
Yes, I believe AI can help in various ways. There are some publishers like Elsevier that they are experimenting with their own proprietary AI. Elsevier has been experimenting with an AI to help reviewers to do a review of a paper faster, you know. or to try to help a reviewer to identify issues that they will need to look at, because I believe, AI should complement human beings, not substitute them. At least for the moment, based on the capabilities of AI I have seen, So AI can definitely help reviewers and editors to expedite the review process, because there is a huge pressure, as you can imagine, in terms of the number of papers that they have to be reviewed, and the number of reviewers is getting less and less. So if somebody can do this quicker, but also doing it in a more intelligent way, that the AI can mentor him or her or teach her how to do it, that's a win-win situation for everyone. So I believe a good area of AI and supporting publications is the review process. And of course, it's the process of conducting a study and writing up a paper. Again, AI can be used in a negative way, in an unethical way. But I want to think positive, that people will develop the skills to use the AI in a complementary and an enhancing way to do research, because there are ways to do that.
Thank you so much. I think that will be what we have for today. I want to thank you for your time in sharing your insights, and wish you all the best for the journal ahead.